Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and for almost a decade, I have been a transformation coach and therapist. This podcast is all about lifting the veil of consciousness and awakening to the truth. It is also about helping you to raise the bar in all areas of your life and relationships by starting with you. If you're ready to take back your personal power and reclaim your life, you have come to the right place. I'm so glad that you're here, so let's get started with today's episode.
This is going to be sort of a follow-up part 2 to the previous episode, It's Not Them, It's You. And I wanted to focus in a little bit on this piece around victim mentality and how important it is to get out of that if you really, truly want to grow and change your life. So if you're feeling stuck and you're not able to make a decision, you're feeling paralyzed around whether to stay or go, you can't seem to make any step in either direction, either way, chances are very good, if not very probable, that you in some form or another are in victim mentality. This is not to say you didn't experience abuse or trauma or that you weren't victimized. So I'm not here to minimize that. What this means, though, is that on some level, you are still living in that mentality and you have not stepped into the next level of growth as to what now you're going to do about it. So you recognize that you are experiencing abuse, narcissistic abuse potentially, but you find that you can't take any steps to get out of it. You feel stuck, like almost frozen in place. Like either way, it just feels like there's no good choice either way, that leaving and staying feel excruciating no matter how you look at it. So you slowly feel like you're dying inside because you can't make a decision either way. And it's really draining to live in that place of feeling like you don't have any free will over your life to make decisions. So victim mentality is rooted in past trauma and abuse. So it could stem back as far as your childhood. So I'm not minimizing that, that this isn't because you've experienced some awful things and abuse. What I'm saying now, though, is as an adult, you have the power now to respond differently, to do something differently. And it is important to claim the role of a victim if we have genuinely been victimized or abused. The thing is that we can't actually transform and move on with our lives unless we step out of the victim role and into the thriver role, the survivor role, the warrior woman role that recognizes all of the shit and the ways you've been treated and the crappy things that have happened and the unfair treatment and the ways you've been disrespected and the impact all of that has had. So we look at all of that and we say, okay, so now what? So victim mentality is a psychological term that refers to a type of dysfunctional mindset which seeks to feel persecuted in order to gain attention and avoid self-responsibility. This is the unfortunate part of this, is that there are benefits to staying in victim mentality. There's benefits to that. If you listen to or read things from people who are stuck in that, they're very self-righteous, like, this is what's been done to me. You don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be saying this. You're victim blaming. And no, it is completely 100% them that is to blame. They stand on this kind of high horse, which has a narcissistic air to it. So we're here to look at healthy psychology, at what healthy narcissism is, right? And to be able to see our own narcissism, because we all have some, right? We get to determine if that's the case and what we're going to do about it. But that kind of mentality, I'm an empath and they sucked me dry and it's them, it's not me. I'm the helpless victim that, life just happens to me. That is its own sort of brand of narcissism. Like there's narcissism in that and it feels gross. Right? It feels gross to be in that place. And if you are, you know what I mean. It's very uncomfortable to be in this place of like, this is being done to me. They did this to me. My life sucks. Nothing good ever happens to me. Everything is working against me all the time. They did this. They did that. They're to blame. They're the narcissist. It's yucky. right? It's not empowering. If that's for you and that's where you're at and that's where you want to stay and this message is rubbing you the wrong way, then you are free to go toward those that are teaching those lessons. I'm here for you if you are done with that story and you're ready to rewrite a new one that is about thriving, that's about flourishing, that's about putting yourself first, that's about setting new goals for yourself. That's about inviting healthier relationships in. People who struggle with the victim mentality are convinced that life is not only beyond their control, but it is out to deliberately get them. You have probably seen this if you have a narcissistic partner. They're very good, some of them, at playing the victim. That, you're just out to get me. You're just looking to see the worst in me. You only want to see the negatives. Poor me, I can't do anything right. I guess I'm just a fuck up then, or I'm just a piece of shit. And they go into this victim. Life is out to get me. You are out to get me. So when you look at that in the mirror and see, oh my gosh, I am doing my own form of this, it's not comfortable, is it? So when you say it's them, they're doing this, and you can see some of your own behaviors in that, that's how you know you need to do the work. So if you are in your victim, they are in their victim, who's in their power? So this belief results in constant blame. It results in the finger pointing and the pity parties that are very much fueled by pessimism, fear, anger, rage. Not to say you shouldn't have any of those feelings. But when you're stuck in victim mentality and you can't see any way out of that, you cannot grow. There is no way to grow in a victim mentality. When you're in this mindset of blaming and not taking any accountability, you're blaming other people for your circumstances, for your unhappiness, for your life. You cannot grow from that place. I promise you, you can't. You will stay in the same place. In fact, you'll notice things deteriorating, getting worse. Your physical health will get worse. Your mental health will get worse. You'll gain weight. You'll feel exhausted. You'll get depressed. You'll be full of anxiety. You'll want to eat all the sugar to deal with your emotions. I help a lot of my clients deal with these other aspects because my approach is quite holistic. So when we're diving into how are you coping, right? Like, what are you doing to cope with what's going on? And if it's not alcohol for some, it's food, overeating, eating sugar, it could be shopping, but a lot of times the addiction itself, the distraction is researching narcissism, getting lost in that world, over analyzing everything rather than putting the focus on where it needs to be, which is on yourself. So I want to also say, obviously, that what happens to us as children is completely beyond our control. But it's our responsibility as an adult to step into our power and reclaim responsibility for our life, for our happiness, for our future, for our goals, right? So we can't change what's happened. And even when you didn't know what was happening in your relationship, because there's an element to these relationships, especially in the beginning, where you don't see what's happening because it's below the veil, because it's hard to pinpoint. With all the gaslighting and the shifty behavior, it's really hard to pinpoint what you're experiencing. The majority of people who get stuck in the victim mindset, they do it unconsciously, right? We're not conscious of it until we're conscious of it. It's not necessarily intentional, but it does serve in a certain way to be in the poor me, I'm a victim way of life, in that mindset. So it actually does involve a lot of manipulation and string pulling. Victims can be very manipulative. Again, maybe unintentionally. It's not conscious. But we have to see our own manipulative patterns instead of pointing at the narcissist as being all of the problem. Their problem is their behavior, how they show up, their energy, their words, their actions, how they're being in the world. That's 100% on them. But when we finally get empowered, we stop caring so much about that and we start looking, am I in integrity with me? Am I in integrity with my values, how I want to show up, the kind of person I want to be? Because yes, being in a relationship like this can turn you into someone who you don't want to be when you're not able to articulate or have your needs met, or you're being treated in certain ways. And so you start behaving in those same ways also. I saw a quote on social media that really stuck with me. It was, women will treat you as they want to be treated, but eventually they'll start treating you as you're treating them. And I just felt like this is so true. It's what can happen, right? When you're being mistreated and disrespected. Now, there's a difference between being in a basically healthy relationship and having some things coming at you or behaviors that you don't like or things being said that hurt your feelings. And instead of saying something, you just fire back or you start making similar comments. We have to be aware of our own passive aggressive tendencies or our desire to lash out or do that whole tit for tat thing, right? So again, we are responsible for how we show up. And even though it might be really easy to just say that it's all your partner's fault right now because of what they're doing, that they cheated, that they did this, that they did that, you know it doesn't feel powerful, and you know how it feels in your body. It doesn't feel good to be in that place feeling stuck and powerless to change. And on another note, it is a form sometimes of learned helplessness where it's something we learned very early on. It's a whole other topic, but we learned that we didn't have any influence to change our lives very early on. And so we recreate that pattern in our adult relationships. So if you're ready to get out of this mindset, if you're ready to really claim something new, to start something new, to have a fresh start, to start figuring out what you're going to do about your situation, I am teaching a live class tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called Should I Stay or Should I Go? There will be a replay available to those who are registered that will be sent out as a recording if you can't attend live. But of course, attending live is always a better experience. So if you'd like to join me for this class, make sure that you head to the show notes and sign up. Instagram bio link. The link will be there as well. And I hope to see you on Zoom. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this show and it has served you and helped you on your journey, please take a moment right now and leave a rating and review in iTunes and Spotify. If you'd like more daily content, videos, and inspiration, come on over and join me at Awakening Women Support Official over on Instagram, where we can connect and you can continue your transformation and growth journey. And I'll see you online. Take care.